culture.
It's springtime, and you know what that means. It's time to take a look at a Disneyland Haunted House ride. I don't make the rules, kids, I just read them in a pseudo-posh and pretentious voice. You're welcome. To be fair though, the Tower of Terror is one hell of an experience. It's been going for over 20 years and has appeared in many Mickeyvilles all over the world. The idea of the ride is that you're a guest at a hotel, but then lightning strikes and sends you into the 5th dimension. This takes place while you're in the elevator and causes you to drop some 13 stories screaming all the way, except when you get a brief pause for a photo and an unrivaled view of the rest of the park. So let's take a look at some little bits of trivia which make this attraction all the more attractive. Speaking of which, I'm Jules for WhatCulture.com, and this is 10 things you didn't know about the Tower of Terror. Number 10. The Twilight Zone. The full name of the ride, not that it's ever really used, is the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. That's because it's inspired by the 50s TV series, with the idea being that this is a special episode of the show. In keeping with that, there are a lot of references to the show as you make your way through the hotel in order to take that ill-fated elevator trip. This even includes a narration by Rod Serling, who created the show, although it's taken from the show rather than originally recorded, with the show-specific stuff done by an impersonator. Number 9. A game of Mahjong. As you pass through the hotel's lobby, you'll notice that everything seems to be frozen in time, as if one day everything in the hotel just stopped. There's old newspapers, abandoned suitcases, uneaten pastries, and unfinished cocktails. There's also a game of Mahjong awaiting the player's return. The game is set up to look as though it's midway through, and Disney even hired 4 top Mahjong players to set up the board and start playing, and then to simply leave it unfinished. It's another small detail, but once again really goes towards creating the look and feel of the spooky derelict hotel. Number 8. 199 feet high. The Tower of Terror is one of the most impressive and easily distinguishable sights in any Disney park. The structure in Orlando stands at a mighty 199 feet tall, which makes it the second tallest attraction in the resort. It was originally planned to be 200 feet, until they were informed that buildings of that size needed to have red warning lights on top for airplanes. Fearing that this would spoil the look of it, they decided on taking a foot off. Number 7. A unique ride. Disney parks are known for their use of groundbreaking technology, and this was indeed the case for the Tower of Terror when it opened back in 1994. Whereas most free-fall rides have an immovable vertical track, the tower has a unique system which allows the vehicles to move in and out of this. It's not the only bit of technological advancement they use during the ride though. One of the first stops is on a hotel corridor, which is where the ghosts appear, and appears to be a full-length hotel corridor. But it's actually a forced perspective illusion, with the actual corridor being only 6 foot deep and 4 foot wide. Number 6. The Floating Penny Trick. Now, on the ride, as you're being pulled down, there's actually a neat little trick you can pull. If you hold a penny or another small coin in your open palm, then as you plummet the 13 stories down screaming like a baby who needs his nappy changed, the coin will rise from your hand. Or rather, your hand will move down from the coin due to the different forces on each. This will give the illusion that the coin is actually floating in mid-air, which only serves to further highlight the Twilight Zone element of your surroundings. Of course, this can be dangerous if there's too many people around, so best to do it when the ride's quiet. I think that'll absolve us from the lawsuits. Number 5. G-Force. No, this entry isn't to do with the sheer force with which you're pulled down, although that is coming, but rather this refers to G-Force Records, the musical label who operate out of the Rock and Roll Coaster located near the Tower of Terror. Although they're two very distinct rides, with the only similarity being that they'll both make you scream, the two are actually linked in a more unexpected way. The story of the rides goes that when the hotel fell into ruin back in 1939, it had a major impact on the label, with it being unable to attract the top stars. Now that the hotel is once more open to guests, people can return and the music label is thriving again, as evidenced by the signing of Aerosmith. Now it may sound crazy, but it just proves that Disney don't want to miss a thing. I bet you were expecting me to make a love in an elevator joke then, weren't you? Well, I won't. Number 4. Faster than gravity. The drop to the ground is an alarmingly fast one, causing the rider to rise out of his or her seat, and that's very much the intention of the Imagineers. They wanted riders truly screaming and being moved up, so rather than just having it be a free-fall ride, the elevator is instead pulled down by an accelerated force. This means that you're going down faster than you would be if it were just left to gravity. The motors used to propel the elevators up and down produce a torque equivalent to 275 Corvettes, reaching the top speed, just over 30 miles an hour, in around 1.5 seconds. Number 3. Hidden Mickey. Now, amidst all the screaming, you might notice a small little ghost girl. And her toy would be very familiar. In fact, who am I kidding? Of course it is, it's Mickey Sodding Mouse. The Mickey Mouse doll she carries is an original 1930s version, likely to be one of the first ever made. It's in keeping with the theme of the ride and the lengths that they go to make it feel like it's part of the 1930s. Number 2. A Haunted Tower. The Tower of Terror is a pretty creepy ride, the clue is in the name after all. And keeping in line with the theme of this ride, it's no surprise to find out that it's supposed to be haunted. There are actually 4 loading platforms to the ride: Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. And the story goes that one of the cast members working as a bellhop had a heart attack on platform D, dying there on the spot. This has caused reports of all manner of spoopy goings-on when the employees are doing their final checks after the park closes to the public. They include the lights going out, the music going on and off, and even a human-shaped figure appearing. This has gone on for so long and happens so frequently that cast members don't ride in Delta alone anymore. And number 1, struck by lightning. Part of the story of the ride is that it gets struck by lightning, and this is what causes you to be transported to the 5th dimension. It happens a couple of times on the ride, causing the lights to go out, and is part of the story for the family you meet later on. As we mentioned before, the ride is very, very high, and clearly nature sees this as being a big middle finger to it, so it attracts all sorts of electric fury. The lightning hasn't caused any damage so far, but it does make the facade seem even more part of the story. And that's our list. Got any other spooky experiences of the ride you want to share? Well, let me know about them in the comments section below. And you can swing by whatculture.com for more daily news and articles like this. You can also follow James Hunt, the author of this list, on Twitter at JamesHunt182 and my lovely self here at RetroJ with a 0. As always, you're welcome.